The moment I saw that photo, my entire body froze. It was me, fast asleep in my own bedroom, a picture taken from less than 3 feet away. But the terrifying part wasn't the photo. It was the fact that my bedroom door had been locked from the inside. And whoever took that picture wanted me to know they had been there. Before I start the full story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon, because what happened next changed every part of my life. My name is Ava Mitchell, and this is the incident that still keeps me awake at night. It began on a Thursday morning, one of those days that felt normal until it wasn't. I was leaving my apartment for work when I noticed something on the floor, an envelope, plain white, no name. I assumed it was a misplaced letter until I picked it up. It was too thin to be a bill or flyer. My stomach tightened as I tore it open. Inside was a single photo, and the moment I saw it, my throat closed. It was me, sleeping, in my own bed, my head resting on my blue pillow, the blanket slightly folded. Everything looked exactly like how I remembered going to sleep the night before. But the angle was the part that made my skin crawl. The picture had been taken from inside my bedroom. Close, too close, like someone had stood right over me. I looked around the hallway, hoping it was some kind of sick joke. No one was there. I ran back inside and locked the door behind me. I checked the windows, locked. I checked the front door, also locked. I checked under the bed, in the closet, behind the shower curtain. Nothing. My apartment wasn't big. If someone had been inside, I would have known. Right? I tried calling my best friend Lena, but she didn't pick up. I couldn't call the police without proof that someone had actually entered. A photograph wasn't evidence of forced entry. I sat on my couch shaking, staring at that picture like it could somehow explain itself. That's when I noticed something I hadn't before. A reflection. On the edge of the photo, barely visible, there was a reflection in the small mirror hanging opposite my bed. A silhouette. Someone standing there. I felt sick. I knew I had to figure out who slipped that photo under my door, because one thing was clear. This wasn't random. Someone wanted to scare me, and they wanted to make sure I knew they had been inside. I pushed myself to go to work, but the entire day I couldn't think straight. I kept imagining footsteps in my hallway, the click of a camera, the sound of someone breathing in the dark. When I returned home that evening, I expected another envelope. There wasn't one, but the silence was even worse. Later that night, I posted anonymously on Reddit under r/revenge stories, hoping someone might understand what I was dealing with. My post gained attention quickly, and one user in particular, Night Cipher, stood out. They messaged me privately. Check the screws on your bedroom vent. They might not match. The message made no sense at first, but the more I thought about it, the more it gnawed at me. Someone had clearly known what they were talking about. So I grabbed a flashlight and checked the vent near the ceiling. My blood ran cold. 2 of the screws were different, newer, shiny. Not the original ones. Someone had unscrewed the vent. Someone had crawled through it, into my bedroom. My hands shook so badly I dropped the flashlight. I wanted to scream, to call someone, anyone, but I forced myself to stay calm. I took photos of the screws, the vent, everything, and uploaded them in the Reddit chat. Night Cipher responded within seconds. You're not dealing with a stranger. Whoever is doing this knows your schedule. They know when you sleep, when you leave, when you're alone. It hit me then. This wasn't some random stalker. This was someone in my building, someone who had access. And then, as if the universe wanted to confirm that fear, I heard a noise from the hallway. a soft scratch, right outside my door. I froze. The scratch came again, slow, deliberate. I tiptoed to the peephole and looked out. Nothing. But I knew someone was there. I didn't open the door. Instead, I waited until the sound faded, my heart punching my ribs. I barely slept that night. The next morning, another envelope was under my door. Another photo. This time, it wasn't me sleeping. It was my bedroom door. From the inside. The timestamp showed 3:14 a.m. The exact time I had woken up briefly, thinking I heard something. This was no longer fear. This was war. And I decided I wasn't going to be the victim. I reached out to Night Cipher again. They guided me through setting up my own trap, motion sensors, a small camera disguised in a plant, a wedge under the vent cover. I spent hours preparing. That night, I pretended to sleep. At 2:57 a.m., the motion alert pinged silently on my phone. Someone was inside my apartment. I stayed perfectly still, barely breathing, listening as footsteps crept towards my bedroom. The vent clicked softly. Someone tried to push it open, but the wedge held it in place. The footsteps paused. Then, a whisper. A whisper so close it felt like it was right beside my ear. "Ava." I nearly screamed, but I didn't move. The figure tried the vent again, failed again. Then hurried footsteps retreated out of my apartment. When the sun rose, I checked the camera, and what I saw made my revenge easy to plan. It was my building's maintenance worker, Eric, the man who always fixed things without being asked, the man who had a master key, the man who knew every vent, every opening, every schedule. I handed everything to the building manager and authorities. Photos, recordings, timestamps, the Reddit messages, everything. Eric was arrested for unlawful entry and several other violations. My revenge wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was justice. But the moment that satisfied me most was when the officer looked at the photos and said, "You stopped him just in time." I moved out a week later, and to this day, whenever I close my eyes at night, I check the vent twice. Because now I know, the scariest monsters aren't the ones outside. They're the ones who already know the way in.